All right, we are back for Roundtable Ravens episode number 21. I am here with Billy Melissa. Buddy is not with us because he is busy doing something else. I don't know what, but it's all good. We are here to talk all about that first round in the 2026 NFL draft. That was not so exciting for the Ravens, but also very exciting for the Ravens because they stood pat. They didn't move around. They didn't move up. They didn't move down. And they got the guy that's been attached to them for months at this point.
Yep.
With the number 14 overall pick, they went and got Penn State guard Vega Ioane. They didn't have to fight anybody for him. They didn't have to do anything for him, which to me right now is a slam dunk. I gave this pick an A plus, my initial grade, just for the simple fact of like this is a Ravens player through and through. In my opinion, he has the physicality and the traits that the Ravens have always expressed on their offense and defense. He is a very gifted athlete. He is the consensus top guard out of this draft. And again, I gave it that perfect grade because they didn't have to move up or down to get him.
Nope. They did exactly what they do best. And I think EDC said it in his presser this afternoon of they just let the board fall to them and they just let it happen. The only thing I was annoyed about was watching Todd Munkin sneak under and steal Spence Fano, which was my personal pick for the Ravens as the person that I kind of saw being more of their like style. But I think, Eric DeCosta seems very enthusiastic about him. He's excited about what he can do, but he did say it wasn't an easy decision. He said there was a lot of guys, and Bain was still there, which was not expected at that point in the night, and so that was obviously an option for them. But and he said Eric DeCosta said he would have made a great Raven, but they got the guy that really fit them. And Wenger really epitomizes everything what it means to be a Raven and play like a Raven. So
Mhm.
yeah, and a big guy to help Lamar stay upright on the field, which is all anyone wanted for the Ravens after that devastating loss of Tyler Linderbaum to Las Vegas. So for me, agree with you. A plus Ravens.
Yeah, I think it's important. This pick is important for a few reasons. The Ravens desperately needed to address the offensive line, and any other pick outside of that would have been criminal.
Yep.
Yes, they could have got Kenyon Sadiq right there. Yes, they could have got Ruben Bain, and obviously they do still have a need for pass rushers, especially with still we're waiting kind of what's going on with Nnamdi Madubuike. We will potentially bring that up a little bit later, but the point being instead of going outside, going this way, that way, whatever, they stuck to their guns and they got an offensive lineman, the top guard, who may even potentially be moved into being the center. We don't know yet. But
Mm.
he's played left guard, he's played right guard. He is a consensus top guard. He is a guard. Daniel Falale is gone. He went to the New York Giants to join John Harbaugh, as did every other Ravens player in free agency. And Andrew
Half a
Ford,
Baltimore left.
yeah, Andrew Voorhees struggled mightily too, so he's up to get replaced as well. So regardless of where they put Vega, either right guard, left guard, even center, I think is going to be a good decision. I think they were very happy and very excited about this pick for obvious reasons. Again, he's the kind of Ravens player. He plays like a Raven, as they say. I really watching the tape, seeing him. He is a very gifted, huge athlete that can move the pile. He's ridiculously good in run situations, and with Derrick Henry and Lamar Jackson being those great runners, you need somebody that can play like that. Obviously, we don't know if he's going to be the next Tyler Linderbaum, if you will, because Tyler Linderbaum can move the pile by himself. But
Yep.
you got a guy similar in nature to that can move that pile. Huge pickup. But the other reason why this is important is because it's a statement for Eric DeCosta in the front office. It is a statement to go and get an offensive lineman and to prove that you are there to protect Lamar Jackson. And the
Yeah.
way that the 2025 season went, the amount of injuries that Lamar Jackson suffered, you had to do this pick because you cannot do anything else. And and not ensure that you are there to protect Lamar Jackson. This is a message for the team. This is a message to Lamar Jackson. Obviously, he hasn't got that extension yet. They did alter his contract a little bit, but I think if they would have not addressed the offensive line, I think that would have sent a different message to Lamar Jackson, and I think he would have been
Hmm.
like, okay, well now I'm going to see what this team evolves into because if you're not willing to protect me and you don't have my best interests at heart, I'm gone.
Yeah. I mean, we've been speaking about it over and over again, and why we would have been appalled if they'd gone in any other direction. But also for them, they addressed it themselves. Eric DeCosta said that they haven't invested many resources in the offensive line recently. That's the first time I think I've heard them publicly own up to not be. John Harbaugh, when he was in the building, was always praising Farlele, always praising, his selection of that line. And this time, they've acknowledged that it was an issue. They don't go offensive anything in the first round. It's not something they do. Typically, they take a defensive player in the first round. They haven't done this since Tyler Linderbaum, and then before that, it was Ronnie Stanley. I think before that, it was like not since 2007.
Mm.
And Tyler Linderbaum and Ronnie Stanley are great people to be among, in history, in Ravens history. So they clearly feel very confident that he is the what they needed to make this offensive line better. And just like you said, there's going to be that diversity. There's going to be that figuring out where he lands, because I think Jesse Minter was saying that he spoke about him having done center at one point. I don't think frequently. I think maybe in one or two games he had. But I think that he's going to have to come into the building and be prepared to kind of experiment a little bit. And I think that they would have seen that in his attitude, because that was something that they were highlighting as well, was they liked him as a person. Nata, Haloti Nata,
Mm.
Eric DeCosta was comparing him to him in personality, saying that he really liked his humility. And that for him was kind of what sold him on Ione specifically, was just feeling out the kind of guy that he was. And he was saying something funny as well about looking on their social media. I think there was like a video of Ione like helping someone. I can't remember what happened, but they'd seen that video and they liked it, So all of these little things add up, and they matter, and they go towards their decision making. So for me, if you're saying that he reminds you of Haloti Ngata, who is a great Raven in the Ring of Honor, personality wise and just all of that, then I'm excited to see what he can do. I really do think it was just like a hair between him and Spence Fano, obviously, who went a few rounds before to the Browns. But maybe this was their plan all along. Maybe if Fano even was still on the board, they wouldn't have picked him up. Maybe this was the guy that they saw.
Yeah, I agree with you. We did talk about this, and I've written about this plenty. But I also believe that Spencer Fano was the guy simply because he does have the ability to play center. He does have the
Yeah.
ability to play guard. Like he's the top versatile lineman in this draft, or so we believe. Um, I thought they were going to trade up to get Fano, and they would have had to trade up to get Fano. 100% would have had to do that, but it didn't work out that way. And instead, like you just said, though, we don't know if they would have not traded and stuck there. If Fano dropped him at 14, would they have still taken him? We don't know.
Well, Eric DeCosta said they got a call about a trade, but they considered trading back.
Back, yeah. So
So I think maybe they could see that was they'd already had Fano go off the board, and they were like, we're not risking it by going backwards. So I wonder who that team was. Who was trying to climb up to 14?
I don't know. He said that the call fell through, but they were strongly considering moving back. So I'm
Yeah.
going to assume that it was the Detroit Lions because the Detroit Lions needed an offensive lineman, and I think if they would have traded up, they would have got Vega themselves.
Mm,
I think they were high up on Vega, as were a lot of people. Look at how many linemen went. It started with Francis Maligoa, went to Spencer Fano, then goes to Caden Proctor, and it was just lineman, 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 lineman. So the Dolphins got ahead of that, obviously, and then the
yeah.
Ravens, they, which is again why it
Like a
was such a
domino effect, wasn't it? Everyone was just like, right, yeah, yep, they're all going, they're going, get them, guys, get them before
and,
they're gone.
and we know how difficult it is to find a really good offensive lineman prospect. Again, we don't know that any of these guys are going to work out the way that everyone expects them to, but
Hmm.
you are better off taking a swing at a top offensive lineman prospect than anybody else. And even with Ruben Bain there, who could end up being a generational edge rusher and would hugely transform the Ravens defense right there alongside Trey Hendrickson, you still passed on him to go and get Vega. And again, it just speaks volumes to what the Ravens are trying to do. And even DeCosta said that. He said, he fits the bill of he what the offense is trying to do. So whether or not this has been the influence of Jesse Minter, maybe it has, maybe it hasn't. But somebody was probably like, dude, you got to get an defensive lineman because, like you just
Declan
said,
Doyle.
yeah, Declan Doyle too. You look at it, and they're like, look at your offensive lineman choices over the last X amount of years. You don't invest. And why? You have Lamar Jackson for crying out loud. Like, if there was
Yeah,
anybody in the league to protect, it's Lamar Jackson because of how good he is when he's upright, how good he is when he's not under duress with a hamstring, a knee, a toe, whatever else. So you already made the move. You already made the commitment to Lamar Jackson by going out and getting Dr. Nick Gill and bringing in a new health and performance
yeah.
VP. You already made that move. The next move, logically, was to bring an offensive lineman, and you did that. So hats off to the Ravens for doing so. They needed to do this. That guy is a mauler. He's so good in the run game. Like that, I think that's one of the main things, the main reasons why they went and got him. Not so much because he's a guard and he's good, but I think the benefits of having someone like that in the run game can only elevate the offense even further.
Yeah, and now with Pat Ricard gone, who was a big part of the Todd Monken era run game, and before Todd Monken even, you really do need to build that out. And I think Minter was saying that he said he's not scheme dependent. He can run any type of scheme, any type of pass blocking scheme. And also saying he's just versatile and saying that his you know, and I think that Ione himself even said he was like, my main job is I'm not going to let anyone touch the quarterback. And I think what was I reading? He didn't allow a sack over his final two
Not
seasons,
not one sack. He only committed
three
one
across his
penalty.
entire. Yeah, and that's another thing is a massive issue on the Ravens offensive line. Ronnie Stanley, you do it all the time, sort it out.
Daniel
There's
Falale,
always,
Andrew Voorhees,
yep, full stop
they
penalties all over that
they
line.
throw penalties out like it's going out of style. So it's like you need a disciplined offensive lineman, and it doesn't get more disciplined
Yep.
than not committing a single penalty in your last season as a college player. As a college
Yeah.
player to not commit or you only commit one penalty, sorry. But regardless, like that's huge.
But in
And
2025, none.
yeah, yeah. So I mean,
I
this
mean, it's
again,
massive. It's massive. It is one of those things. I think that the Ravens' average was one per game, which is 18 a year, which is too many.
yeah,
So that it's a great guy to have on the line. And even though he's a rookie, he's coming in and setting the tone. He's like, hey guys, maybe he's got some tricks up his sleeve. He can share with the other guys. It's like this is how we're not moving. Ronnie, come into my office and let me show you how to not. And I think that really losing Tyler Linderbaum was probably for them just the actual like the urgency to have to go after Ione probably set the tone for them, and I think maybe would they have passed up Bain if Linderbaum was still in the building? Would they just have had that, because we've spoken about over the weeks that they are a next best player available, and
no,
technically on the board, Bain was the next best player
100%.
available. This is the first time they've swayed from tradition. Maybe not from their tradition of their board. Maybe they did have him above him on their own personal board, but they've done it. They've gone against the grain. They've done something different. Even getting Trey Hendrickson was doing something different. Max Crosby was something different before it fell through. So we are seeing some differences from them this offseason, and I'm curious to see how that is going to thread through to the next few rounds.
Yeah, definitely. And again, this is something that we've talked about for weeks at this point, months even, I mean, it started with the Max Crosby trade, even though that fell out. This was the first time and that Eric DeCosta went against that tradition, went against the grain to be like, look, the first time in the organization's 30 years as a team to even trade a first round pick for anybody. And then on
And
top of
thank goodness they got those back.
Right. And then you think about it that in terms of that, and then we kept saying, like, look, if he wants to continue this, like, and I'll keep saying it, if he wants to save his damn job, he needs to make a move like this, and that's exactly what he did. Because
Yeah.
if he didn't go and get an offensive lineman and they didn't address that, there is a strong chance that Steve Bisciotti next season would have been like, bye, you're the next guy gone.
Not even that. Lamar Jackson next season.
Right.
Bye.
Right. No, right. Exactly. Exactly. So again, this goes back to the statement being made about this pick, but it just speaks volumes. And like, you're right. Maybe if Tyler Linderbaum was still in the building, maybe they would have gone Ruben Bain to address the pass rush, but or maybe not. Maybe they would have stuck. And then again, it still would have been like, hey, we have a need at guard. We're going to go against the grain and not do this best player available. Because when you look at it, the next best player available could have also been Kenyon Sadiq. They could have
Mm,
went in tight end because they need tight end anyway. They only got Mark Andrews right now. They got
they let
Durham
him go.
Smythe, but so yeah, this is completely going against the grain, and these are the kind of moves that Eric DeCosta needed to make. I mean, it was only one move, but I mean, it's still the right move. Regardless of if they would have traded up to get Fano or even Francis Mauigoa. If they even would have, if Vega would have gone to the Dolphins and they would have got Caden Proctor or somebody else. There was a lot of linemen that went. If they would have got, regardless, they needed to get a lineman and they did just that. So,
Yeah. It's what we've been saying week after week after week after week ever since this podcast began. That this was all anyone has been saying. And so it would have been criminal to have done anything else. I think that they made the right choice. I think that they're going to continue to make the right choices throughout the draft. I don't know where they are in round
I
two.
believe
They're
they're number
at
45.
45,
Yeah, so
so
that's
13th.
13. So they're back where they started in round one, essentially, up one spot, but that's where they're going to be picking. And you have to think about it too. Like there's still nobody got a center. So there's so many centers to choose from in that third round ish that they could be potentially looking at. Sam Hecht, I forgot what college he plays for, but there's a lot of options there too. And you think about the moves that the Ravens have made. They brought in Jovan Gwynn. They brought back John Simpson. They brought in Danny Pinter, and they re-signed Corey Bullock. So obviously, we don't know where those guys may or may not fit in the grand scheme of things, but they're at least the semblance of you're addressing the offensive line in a big way. And even Jesse Minter said that there's a strong chance they're going to be addressing the center even more through training camp and heading into preseason by bringing in more
Yeah.
potential free agents. So, again, this is a move that really, really, really benefits the Ravens in so many different ways. And rebuild that offensive line. That's your main goal. That is your main goal. You have so many good playmakers across the board. Yes, you still need a wide receiver. Yes, you still need a tight end. You still need these other pieces, but the offensive line is and always will be the main concern for them.
Yeah, and something I'm curious about too is Eric DeCosta saying that he wants more picks. How's he getting those picks?
I mean,
Is he going to do something crazy?
they already did, but he already said something about trading down, and they almost did just that. So, I mean,
He could
possibly.
do with this much talent. He spoke about it in his press conference, was saying, there's so much talent, there's so much depth that like they can afford to do that. And I wouldn't be surprised if they did because I don't really know where they go from here. Like, do they go after a receiver? Do they go after just continuing to build out that offensive line? Does Jesse Minter, as a defensive minded coach, have his eye on someone that's still on the board that he would like to take in round
Mhm.
two? There are so many, having lost so many starters, there really are so many holes to address next that is kind of exciting because you really don't know where they're going next.
Yeah. So with only one second round pick and one third round pick right now, which obviously maybe they're gonna do something about that. Matt Miller, ESPN analyst Matt Miller has the Ravens taking at number 45, Avion Terrell, the quarterback from Clemson. And
Mm,
then at number, let me find it real quick. Number 80 overall, their only third round pick, Max Clare, tight end from Ohio State. So those are two picks
yeah,
that
sounds right.
I don't necessarily believe they should be going cornerback right there, but I like the tight end pick. I'm more so like wide receiver and or more offensive line and or edge because like I brought
Mm.
up in our other podcast, there's a lot of really good edge players that are in that second round. So I think that's more of a need, but I don't know.
They can continue to get better in every
Yeah,
area
I mean that's every
except
team.
running back and quarterback.
Well, I mean, they're gonna take. I think they're gonna take a running back like in the seventh round because
For sure.
they
I mean, Keaton Mitchell's gone now. They've just got Justice Hill. I say
yeah,
just Justice Hill. He's great.
yeah,
Um,
just Justice
but
Hill.
you know, It's hard when you're playing behind Derrick Henry, okay?
Yeah,
You know.
I mean
But
that
he
dude.
does what he needs to do, so
Yeah, yeah. And again, it's Derrick Henry. Derrick Henry continues to defy the laws of everything that we know about running
yeah.
backs and football players. The dude is insanely good. Give him the damn ball every single time you can, unless he's out of breath. And sure, put somebody else in. But yeah, I mean, they had a lot of free agent players leave. We know this. We talked about this. So I think really realistically, pick whoever. Like,
Yeah.
pick whoever, and keep it going.
Just get the best. I think from here on out they might just follow their next best available player situation. Which makes complete sense for the position that they're in. They've addressed that big need. I do think that just because we've not seen this offensive line that they have right now play together, that does still draw my eye. That does still seem like the place that needs to keep being filled out. But I think it's fine from here on out, as long as they're not doing crazy things like picking up a kicker, which need a punter, need a whole bunch of guys.
Yeah.
So I think it's going to be fine from here on out. Nothing too crazy.
Yeah.
I say that, but
Yeah, real quick before we get into player updates. Washington, Denzel Boston, Alabama's Jeremy Bernard, Louisville's Chris Bell, and Notre Dame's Malachi Fields are the top four wide receivers that are still available. So I would
yeah,
imagine that if any one of those four fall to the Ravens at number 14 in the second round, I believe that's probably, or number 13, I mean, they're probably going to pick one of those guys. Could pick one of those guys. But again,
yeah.
we don't know. It's been so crazy. It's just so hard to predict what the hell's going to happen in that second round or anything really. Um, but yeah, so again, hats off, A+ in my opinion. I think the Ravens did exactly what they needed to do. They didn't stray. I think if they would have traded down, I would have probably given them a big fat like C, depending on whoever it was, just because it's like, the hell are you doing? But if they would have traded back, got more draft capital, and still got a decent offensive lineman, maybe it wouldn't have been that low. But
Yeah.
they didn't. They stood pat. They got their guy. Awesome.
Thank you, Eric DeCosta, for listening to everybody's desires. I appreciate you going off script for this
Yeah.
in your career.
Right. Right. But moving right along, we have some important player updates because this happened over the last couple of days, a week. I forgot when it was. Um, but,
Yeah.
but it was announced that the Ravens are in fact picking up the 5th-year option on Zay Flowers' rookie contract, which will pay him 27 million, I believe it is,
Hmm.
in 2027. I do not think that they're going to stick to that. I don't think that's going to happen. That he's just going to play on his 5th-year option. I think they did that in a way that they could offer that kind of security for him, but I think they're still going to be working on a long-term deal.
Oh, 100%. And Eric Costa said as much. He said, they want to get that deal done and it seems like Zay also wants to stay there. I think as long as Lamar's in the building and even beyond that, he'll want to stay there. And especially now that he is the leader of that room, he's not going to want to leave those guys behind. He's a great guy on and off the field. It would be a shame to see, I think, their first drafted Pro Bowl receiver go out the door. So I think that they're going to be working on that. But I think that they just needed something done before the draft to kind of figure out where they were at. And then from here, I think it will be, just continuing conversations with his agent because
Yeah.
those receivers are getting expensive
Yeah.
and they're going to have to work against Nakua and a bunch of other people who are also due some money.
Yeah, definitely. And yeah, so he spoke about it. He's a tremendous player, great work ethic, personality, very talented. He's a leader, and the goal will be to get a long-term deal with him if we can. I'm confident we will. He's got a great agent, and he wants to be here. He's spoken about as much about it, and yeah, if they wait till after 2027 or into 2027, they're going to be paying a whole hell of a lot more for him because,
Hmm.
especially if he performs really well in 2026. But I would imagine they're probably going to strike a deal with him before week one. I truly think that's going to happen for Zay Flowers. He deserves it. And we'll see.
Yeah, for sure. I think it's just hard to navigate right now with the draft. They're probably just like, please just let us get this done first.
Yeah.
But I think it's always been their intention and also Zay's intention to stay in Baltimore and get that deal done. But exactly what we said, every day you don't pay a receiver, the price tag goes up. So And Eric DeCosta is a thrifty guy. He's going to be wanting to get that done ASAP so that he doesn't have to spend more money than he needs to.
Absolutely.
He doesn't want a Linderbaum situation where it's like 30K above his offering price and he's like, I ain't got that money, sorry.
Yeah. Yeah. Um, and finally, we've been talking about him for months at this point, weeks. I brought him up a little bit earlier, the top of the episode, but we got another kind of update on Nnamdi Madubuike, who underwent neck surgery and is now projected to return in 2026. Um, Huge for the Ravens, but the caveat to this news is nobody knows when in 2026
Yeah.
he will return. Could be week 1, could be week 8, could be week 15. We have no idea. And again, DeCosta was asked about that. And he said, not much I can say. He's in here. He's in the offseason program, internal business. It's his business. If he wants to say anything about it, he can. Our policy is to protect the players, not have any statements regarding their health and personal life. I don't understand why there's still all this secretive stuff being said about him, but I think maybe it's just because he doesn't want to say anything yet. Maybe he doesn't, as they say, he doesn't want to count his chickens before they hatch. I think he's patiently waiting to see the recovery process because he just underwent neck surgery, which probably is going to take a long time to heal from, and he doesn't want to say, "Hey, I'm going to be ready week 1," and he's not. So
Yeah.
I think that's why they're not directly saying that he's going to be coming back at some point or whatever, like the frame. I think they're waiting for him to want to say that himself, but it does seem like he's coming back.
Which is crazy because when we started this podcast 20 weeks ago, it didn't look likely he was coming back. No one wanted to talk about it. No one wanted to mention his name. No one wanted to dig into details of that. And having had previous issues in the past with players who had kind of had similar situations, it seemed like he was just going to fade off into the abyss and we wouldn't hear from him again. So it's really exciting for him to know that his amazing career didn't end on that injury. You know, there is a chance that he can come back and continue to build on what he's already built in Baltimore. So I think that that's really exciting. It's really positive. That's not the update that anyone expected to hear. I think it's a really needed boost for this defense because having lost Max Crosby through the cracks and there being a promise of Hendrickson and Crosby. However, now knowing that there was a promise of Madubuike, Hendrickson, and Crosby, I mean, what a lineup to go up against. It would have been amazing to have all three of them, but count your blessings while you can and just be thankful that Madubuike is training again at least. I think
Yeah,
that's what we've seen, right? He'd been
yeah,
around the building, been
yeah,
training, and that was what had kind of sparked these like, is he not? So I just think it's great. It's so great to see that he is going to get that second chance. Hopefully, when we don't know, but hopefully,
yeah, definitely. And also too, it also kind of steers the Ravens away from having to rely so much on getting a defensive tackle um, in the draft. And I had them attached to Florida defensive tackle Caleb Banks, who actually ended up going number 18 overall to the Minnesota Vikings. So that was another pick that I was like, maybe they're going to take a swing on that.
mm,
But I thought he was going to go either later in the first round or maybe top of the second. So I felt like they had to move around to get him if that's what they were going to do. Not saying that Caleb Banks is the only defensive tackle, but it also does it alter the draft plans. You know, maybe they would have been panicked a little bit more if it was a dead set that Matabuke was not coming back.
yeah.
So it's huge. It's huge, huge, huge. Absolutely huge. He's an impact player that makes everybody around him way better. So regardless of when he comes back, even if it's mid-season, that's a mid-season bump that the Ravens are gonna happily welcome, I'm sure.
And especially nowadays, I've noticed in the last couple of years, they're moving these divisional games into later in the season.
Hmm.
Like the Ravens didn't see a single divisional rival until somewhere around like week 8 or something like that. It was like deep into the season. So if you're waiting until then for them to go up against the Browns, Bengals, or Steelers, and then you're bringing in a healthy Madubuike, like that's great. You know, that's 6 people, and then you've got Hendrickson on the other side, and you're gonna have to figure out that mess. Like, and you've got Joe Burrow staring down the lens of his still very empty offensive line. I don't want to be Joe Burrow
No.
come October, November. So yeah, no, it's great news and really positive development for a massive hole that was, along with the offensive line for the Ravens.
Yeah, and yeah, exactly. You said I think they played the Bengals twice in like the last like 4 or 5 weeks of the
They
season.
didn't see the Bengals until I think Thanksgiving.
Yeah, and then they played them like shortly after that, like 2 or 3 weeks after that again.
Yeah, it was
So
literally like the next week or the week after.
yeah,
So
so I mean, if they're going to keep doing that to the Ravens and just every team in general for divisional opponents, because you want to see like you want to, I think they're doing that because they want to see how competitive those teams can get, and then you
yeah,
put them against each other. But regardless, that's a good point. And yeah, but well, we'll wait to see when the announcement from Madubuike himself comes out that he's going to be back or try to be back week 1, week 8, whatever the case may be. But still good news.
yeah, and we might get an idea as they head into training camp how much he's there, what he's doing. Get that footage of him in action. So I'm just happy for him. I just think it's just great news that especially I'm sure that when that happened, he was told this could be your career. And
Yeah,
so having to go through that and not know what it was going to be, it's just great for him above all else. And great for the Ravens organization, of course, but most of all, really, really great news for him.
absolutely. But yeah, so this has been Roundtable Ravens, episode number 21. Thank you, Billy, for joining me once again. We will be back next week to go more in depth about the overall draft. We just wanted to quickly talk about the first round and obviously some additional tidbits from Eric DeCosta and Jesse Minter. But next week we will be back to talk even more about our favorite picks, which obviously is going to be Vega, but our not so favorite picks. Maybe the Ravens are going to do some squirrely stuff that we don't see coming, which
Yeah,
who knows?
happens
But
every year.
happens every year. But we will be back.